Oh, baby, I love those bagpipes. You're back on Piper's Pit. We have been rolling, I'll tell you. Jim Cornette, Vince Russo, interesting podcast. I appreciate you all getting feedback from it. I hope nobody's feelings were hurt. I know mine weren't, because I got no feelings. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. I got a really great guest coming up for you. But before I do that, I was just kind of saying hi, and, I just want to know, when was the last time you deflated your balls? I know that I'm particularly not one to deflate my balls. However, I don't know if Brady deflates his balls either. I'd have to ask his wife, I suppose, or the kids. I don't know. I like it. It's a football. Now, here's a true story. I don't know where we were, someplace, and a hotel, and it was a Sunday, and Don Morocco, Magnificent Morocco, and Bobby Orton were in the hotel room, and we had adjoining rooms. And they're watching football, and I'm not from this country, so college football, I don't know. I don't know football. But I'm on the other side, and I just finished shaving or something. Probably used shaveclub.com. And I heard, I was listening, and it was a really good game. And all of a sudden, Baylor, you guys said, Baylor interception. And Baylor intercepted the ball, and then all of a sudden it was Baylor, and the touchdown, Baylor. And I came in there because I wanted to be a hip cat. And I said to them both, I said, geez, that Baylor's a hell of a football player, huh? I didn't know that was the name of the team. They looked at me, and I just thought better than to die, I would just leave. And so I did. But I didn't know if Baylor deflated his balls either. I think that anybody, my personal opinion, if you want a deflated ball, deflate your ball. Let everybody deflate their balls. Have their balls at the position and hardness that they want their balls. I don't know how. I don't know. But in looking at the guy, Brady, on TV, and they asked him, they said, so tell me, did you cheat? And the guy said, I don't believe I did. Okay. I've been in many depositions. Did I cheat? The answer would be this: no. I don't believe I did. I've said that too before, but I was guilty. But I don't know. Maybe, I'm not casting aspirations on Brady. Come on, they're fantastic athletes, and they're fighting, and they're feeding their family. I don't know what a pound one way or another on a doggone football does, but, when it's like this, you got the Olympics. Back in the day when the Olympics first started, there'd be Mongols and Huns, and everybody was fighting and killing and pillaging all year. And then all of a sudden, everybody would just stop, and they'd have the Olympics. And the oldest sport in the world is running. Second oldest is wrestling. And they would have in the Olympics, wrestling matches would last 8-9 hours. And the first thing that they would do in the Olympics is they would start breaking the other guy's fingers as quick as they could. Because once you got his fingers broken, it's hard for him to grab on. And I don't remember obviously I don't remember the guy's name, but I guess I can look it up. There was one Olympic wrestler where this is back in those days, and I don't know, 2-3 Olympics, he'd beat everyone, and number 4, because he was in, nobody entered. You're tough when 2,000 years later they're still talking about you. So I don't know, but I understand that the wrestler likes his balls at 19 pounds, and, I guess so. But my point was, if you want pure, go to the Olympics. Okay? Because those, they don't give gold medals away. And as soon as you put professional in front of it, sit back and shut up for play. As soon as you put professional in front of anything, all right? It's big money. What comes with big money? Cheat. You cheat to win if you can't win fair. Yes. Anyway. Except for myself, of course. I've never cheated. I don't believe I have ever cheated in my life. I don't believe. I don't believe. What else is going on? Raw got canceled. Baby Jesus. I'm trying to remember. I remember when, God bless him, Eddie Guerrero died. I was late coming in to the building, and I was walking. All of a sudden, like everybody was walking my way, led by Vince. And Vince said, "Hot Rod, I need you." And they did a show. They did Raw, and they had people talk about Eddie, and Vince talked about Eddie and stuff. I remember that one. And then right from there, we went overseas. I never remember a Raw being canceled. And I don't know what the conditions were, but I understand that they replayed the Royal Rumble, which, Royal Rumble, I always liked the Royal Rumble myself. But that's just me. Apparently, none of you like the Royal Rumble, from what I heard. So let's do the smart thing. Let's replay it. Maybe they'll like it the second time. Baylor, he's a hell of a player, isn't he? Got deflated balls. All right. I could do this all day long, but right now I'm going to let you know what I really am. I'm just a lady of the evening. Go to rowdyroddypiper.com. Because there's a lot of cool stuff that no other wrestler has. You can get your all out of bubblegum soda pop. All right, I got bubblegum, Rowdy Roddy Piper, all out of bubblegum, real bubblegum, and it tastes real good. Villain t-shirts, I'm the only one. But if it doesn't have my little signature on, it's bootleg. Okay, I'm going to stop the bootleg stuff. We got, of course, Hot Rod t-shirts. I'm going to get my signature on all of this stuff. I got a brand new graphic novel out, and I'm telling you, it's sick. The cover was designed by Joe Juco, which is like, if not the one of the top drawers in the world of graphic novels. It's not some cheap flyby project. It took like almost about a year and a half to get it right. And now that it's right, I want you to have it. I'm not overpricing it. I'm keeping it. I want everybody to enjoy it. 2015 is going to be a great year for us all. So, that's the beginning of this podcast. And when I come back from break, I'm the, I've got a lot of firsts, but I'm the first man to ever get licked by the Bushwhackers. All right? And they can explain that. When I come back, Luke from the Bushwhackers. We'll be back in a flash. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We be back. We be hard to get rid of, I'll tell ya. I love the bagpipes. Welcome to Piper's Podcast. Piper's Pit Pod. Pit Pod Pipe. Been rolling hard. I got a guest this week is, I'm going to have more fun than anyone. This gentleman, holy cow, I was the first one to get licked by them. Give you hints on who this may be. They saw me at, maybe, I don't know my wildest, but right in there. They're like one of the greatest tag teams ever in history. And as men, I've never seen guys more jam up. And today we have one half of the great tag team. When I knew them, they were called the Sheepherders. But then they got to the EFG, and they're called the Bushwhackers. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Luke the Bushwhacker.
Wow, g'day, matey. Bloody lucky to be on your show, Roddy.
Thank
Fine.
you.
I wish those bagpipes had near me. I'd stuff them with baby powder.
That's true.
And that reminds me of a time where I saw them full of baby powder.
Jeez, Luke, I don't know that they know how far back we go. I was just saying, I was the first one, I think, to get licked by Butch.
Yeah. Well, you saved us, mate. You saved us. We were on that island of Oahu in Hawaii,
yes,
and you pulled us out of there. I remember you coming to us and saying we need a tag team in Oregon.
And we did.
And you hooked us up with Flaky Face.
With Flaky Face, Don Owens. Holy cow. You know that story, just nobody, I don't think I've ever told anyone that story about the baby powder. I was in Quebec. I don't know how old I was. Shoot. I don't know if I was 16, 17, and, they hated me. And so they said, hey, Français, suis enchanté de faire votre connaissance. Says, Piper, you're up, and I was living with Mad Dog, so hey, cocksucker, all right.
Yeah.
And I grab the bagpipes and I go to play, and in those days I used to play them around the ring, and they had put baby powder in the sticks. They're called the drones, the two little ones and the big one. And I'm going around the ring, and that baby powder's coming out, and it's like a Christmas blizzard coming down, and I'm walking around the ring, and it's also a half hour before the matches. Brutal.
And now that brings me, when you said, when you mentioned Don Owens, let's talk about Eldon. You're playing the bagpipes in Salem, and you're a bad guy at the time, a heel, and everybody's booing at you, and Elton comes out, hops in the ring, and he tells all the people to be quiet and says, I can't play them, you people can't play them, give it up. Let the guy have a fucking break. And here you are. You lost the heat right away.
I can't play them. You can't play them. Let's give them another chance. No.
Yeah.
It's okay, Elton.
I remember when that drunk SOB used to come out at the end of matches when we did little angles to get a house the next week.
Yeah.
And we'd have you guys down at the end of the match after most of you guys went over. It would come on you. He'd come. Someone would be going out the door, and he'd be drunk. And they said the sheep herders are beating up the Piper and Martel. He would come in the ring and find us. And take all the heat away. I'd find you $5,000.
He'd kill it. He'd kill it. He was the original one. And we're talking about Elton Owens, which is Don Owens' brother that ran Salem and Eugene in Oregon. And the way and he'd introduce him as, hi, I'm Don Owens' brother, Elton. Not even. And when he went to pay you, in my case, he'd put a roll of quarters, and then he'd look at me. And we had to tip each guy off as they came in the territory, because then he'd put a $5 bill, and then a $1, and then maybe another one. Right? And then if you started smiling, he stopped paying. He was one piece of work, and every match, the first minute had to be a shoot, $25 to the winner, and $15 to the loser. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and the referee would tap them on the shoulder, then they'd go up and lock up professionally. He'd be leaning on the apron, drooling, and rush back, and he says, and he'd tell the boys, who do you think got the advantage of who?
Yes.
Hey, life's full of...
Life's full of...
mate.
In Roseburg, there was no bathroom, no showers. What we were allowed to do is, after we finished wrestling, the hot dog water that was still warm, we were allowed to go behind the concession and put the hot dog water, and that was our shower. Everybody smelled like a Oscar Mayer.
Remember Roseburg? There was a piano up on the stage.
Yes.
Yes, and he used to be at the piano to pay all the boys at night, and we used to line up one at a time, and we used to do the German click with our feet on the stage, and he used to get pissed off.
Oh, he'd get so mad. When what year did not your partner Butch? Just for the people that have been living under a rock, Luke and Butch, Bushwhackers. When you were the sheep herders when you came. What year did you come to Oregon or Hawaii?
You were the one that brought us into Oregon in 79, the start of early 79.
In 79.
We were in Hawaii and that at a big show, and that Buddy Rose and you came in for a big show.
Yeah. That Buddy Rose. Holy cow.
We got some stories there, mate. 20-yard sprints on the side of the road. Going to a show, you, Martell, and Buddy Rose sprinting, while me and Butch, one was at the start and one was at the finish.
Buddy Rose, how would you explain Buddy Rose? If you had to explain Buddy Rose to someone who's never met him, how would you explain Buddy Rose?
It'd be very hard to, because they wouldn't understand it.
No.
Tammy, get the oil. I've got a little blood, get the oil.
And he had a van with all these little towels folded up. So
yep.
for his mating season in the van, he would take someone in the van at nighttime, and he had to have his unsoiled towels and soil them. Holy cow! Holy cow!
He was a classic.
He was a classic.
I lived right beside him, and I could hear the TV going. He'd come home about 2 or 3 in the morning, and the TV would go to 7. I'd be getting up for breakfast, and you could still hear him playing the TV, because all the soap operas and his sitcoms had been taped, and he'd play them through the night.
And he had the stupid dachshunds. He said, 2 of them. He said, I got a birthday. It's Pebbles' birthday. I don't know who's Pebbles. Please come. It's the damn dog. And he's got a hat on the dog, and he's got a cake for the dog. You know, he's got everything but his wife. Oh.
And mate, and those two dogs were stuffed, and when they died, he had them stuffed.
No. Serious?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. Unbelievable. You can't explain Buddy Rose.
No.
He got up at 5 o'clock at night to go to the towns. The first stop was Wendy's.
Yes.
Or Arby's.
And A&W.
Yes. And I can still tell you the orders.
Go.
Go. At Wendy's, it would be 2 hamburgers, two normal burgers and that, no ketchup, with ketchup, no pickle, no onion, tomato, and just ketchup. And then at Arby's, and then after the show was the donut stand. You know, on the way home, before he went home, he always stopped at Dunkin' Donuts, the 24-hour one, picked up donuts. He went, when I first met him, and you met him, I guess, he was 240, 235.
Yeah.
But when he died, he was 350, 360.
Yeah.
But the bastard could still, God bless him, he could still do that upside down bump, go through the ropes. He could work. He had a great brain, and he had a great brain for the business.
Yes, he did. He sure did. Boy. Sold that Portland Sports Arena out 26 weeks in a row. You guys there and Killer Brooks.
He was there for 10 years in one territory. Where do you beat that?
Whoosh. Hard to beat. Buddy Rose he had a run in New York. And back in those days, like, they'd take you for 6 months. They'd tell you when you're starting, when you're leaving, and boom, you go. And, you know, I think he made like $65,000. So this is back in the late 70s. So he buys a propane-driven Cadillac for $65,000. Every dime he's got for propane-driven Cadillac, and he puts a satellite on the roof of it so he can get TV to watch while he's driving.
Mate, he carried his cash. Remember, he carried a big brown paper bag in the back with his cash. He didn't have a bank account.
No, it was all cash and muffler system. Remember the muffler system?
Yep.
So Buddy Rose had a problem with gas, so he devised a system with toilet paper. He called it the muffler system, and whatever he did from there.
Now the WWF fans remember him. He was Playboy Buddy Rose with a blow-away diet. He covered himself with powder. He hopped in front of a fan. The fan blew the fan off.
You just can't make up this kind of stuff. The crew we had. You remember Killer Brooks from Waxahachie, Texas?
Oh, mate. I had Killer Brooks with me for a year and a half in Texas and San Antonio, and I took him to Puerto Rico with me.
What a great guy.
I've just seen him recently. He's only 1 kilo Brooks.
Ah, what a great guy. I shared an apartment for a year. They had to gut the apartment. He was
the bomber.
The bomber. Oh, there was this hotel called the Bomber because it had a real bomber airplane and it was a gas station, but it was also a hotel. I'm not sure. Just before the Civil War, I think it was built. We would stay there, and for heat, you just turned on the oven. It was gas, and opened the door. Two old hound dogs that would come scratching at your door, and you give them a hot dog or something, in case they ate you.
People, I don't think people would believe it, but the guy was in the war, the Second World War, and brought a B-52 bomber back to Portland, set it up in the air, and opened a gas station.
Yes, he drove the damn plane on the ground somehow to get it there, and the hotel.
They jacked it up and put it above the motel. Little units. Boy, that was notorious on Milwaukee Boulevard, in Oregon.
That's
the bomber.
Thank God that place can't talk, huh?
Whoa! There's some stories there, mate.
Oh, Satan himself lived there.
Everybody
lived there.
Saturday night. It was cruising time for the girls. They cruise around because it was laid out in a semicircle.
Allegedly.
Yes. Mate.
Holy cow! There's a story that I've told before, and I try not to, but since I got you on the podcast, and proud to have you, we were Rick Martel and I were tag team partners, and we were wrestling. Back then, you were called the Sheepherders. Were you called the Sheepherders? Like you're from New Zealand, just for the fans here.
We were the Kiwis. The guy you mentioned before, Morris, Sean, and Butcher. They were the first guys to bring us to North America in 1971.
The Shawns did?
Yes.
I'll be damned. I didn't know that. What was the first territory you worked?
For them, Grand Prix.
Grand Prix, gotcha. So
that was when it was. They were running 3 towns a night. Andre had just come in for six months before, and we wrestled Andre in the 60s in New Zealand. So he took care of us when we came into, that territory ran Ontario, Quebec, and over into Barrie.
And New Brunswick?
In the States. Yeah, no, but New Brunswick was a spin-off of it.
That's right.
Emile Dupree was a spin-off of the main office was in Montreal.
Yeah. That's right. I was there when it was celebrity wrestling.
Yeah.
I got to do this. This is just like a really fun pod. Having you on, Luke, I can't tell you how much fun it is. I got a caller that wants to ask a question. Would you mind taking a question from a caller?
I'd take a caller. I'll take it. Which way do you want me to take it? Like a sheep?
I love you. All right. Let me see who we got on the line here. Is it Lee? It's not Lee.
No, this is Zane.
Zane?
Yes.
How you doing, Zane?
I am doing fantastic. So happy to be able to talk to you gentlemen.
Thank you. What's going on, bud?
Well, I was wondering from Luke and from you, now that Macho Man Randy Savage is being inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame, who you guys think would be the next person that isn't in there that definitely deserves to be? Not to mention that the Bushwhackers definitely deserve to be in there.
That's for sure.
We've been hoping for a long time, but we neglected. We're out in the pasture still, grazing. We're like 2 sheep lost in the pasture.
If anybody deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, it's the Bushwhackers. So I think that's the first question. I think also Cyndi Lauper. I think Cyndi Lauper should definitely have been a long time ago. If you think back in that time, Rock and Wrestling Connection You know, the one that really kicked off. It wasn't WrestleMania. It was called The War to Settle the Score by MTV. And Cyndi Lauper had won the Female Vocalist of the Year that year. And I don't know, it goes to 60 countries or whatever. And the last thing she says in her speech, and Roddy Piper, you're going to get yours. And
that was in the song.
And she had Twisted Sister and Rod Stewart and Little Rich, Dee Snider.
And Lou Alabama.
Lou. Captain Lou. Yeah.
Love the guy.
Loved him too. So there you go, bud. I think the Bushwhackers.
Cyndi Lauper.
And Cyndi Lauper. I think that they're far overdue. Thanks for calling.
Can I throw in one name?
Sure.
Here?
Go for it.
Ivan Koloff.
He's not in the Hall of Fame either?
No, he is not, and he is definitely one that he needs to be in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was there for Vince Senior.
Yes, he was.
Unbelievable.
Yes, he was. I would think that Ivan would have been.
He's a hell of a guy, Ivan.
Oh, he's a great guy.
We're all in Charlotte. Roddy, you and me, we're all in Charlotte and NWA early '80s together with Ivan. Boy, almighty.
Yeah, with Ivan, what a pool of talent at that time. They had Steamboat, Flair, Youngblood, the Briscoes.
Jimmy Snuka when he was young. We had a hell of a crew there.
Holy cow. Morocco was in there. Rene Goulet from the Foreign Legion, you know.
The clown is down.
Can you tell that story? I know
it. Mate. That was funny.
Yeah.
Rene Goulet was an agent for WWF. There was always two agents, one at the front of the house and one at the back of the house. And this was at a TV show, and the clown was coming out of the crowd. When he first came into business.
Matt Bourne.
Matt Bourne and he's up in the bleachers coming out, and he slipped on a step, and we could hear Rene Goulet. The clown, he is down. All over the system in the back of the house. Wasn't that funny?
That's great. So, Matt Ford, dressed as Doink, is supposed to be hitting the ring. He slips, boom, and instead of Rene doing anything, he just, Monsieur, the clown is down.
Yeah, the clown is down.
Over the radio.
In that broken French accent.
Oh, priceless stuff. Priceless.
Yeah, price.
Those
days, it was crazy.
It was crazy.
Let's get back to Vancouver. Let's get back to the start of the show, mate, and the Vancouver. We're working with Flaky Face up in Vancouver, Canada.
Yes.
And we've built up to it. Every Monday night, we come back to Vancouver second week, and we worked up to the cage match.
Yes.
Have you told the story? Have you told the story yet to anyone, Roddy?
I have never told the story in all truthfulness. No.
Don't be embarrassed.
Do you want me to take it from here?
Take it from here.
So finally, we've been working hard. I mean, busting bottle. That's where if you go on YouTube, it says Roddy Piper bottles himself, and I busted a full bottle of beer over my head, and I knocked myself out on my feet. When I'm trying to, my idea was I was going to bust the bottle and then go, showdown, you bet, and I haven't even saddled my pony yet. Well, there's Martel, and I hit myself with this bottle, and I'm bleeding, and I'm having trouble focusing, and I'm trying to go, and you listen to me, sheep herders. And you sheep herders, listen to me, 'cause you bet showdown. 3 or 4 different tries at it. And finally, Martel got like 2 words in at the end. And so now it's this big extravaganza. And I mean, for the time, I think it was in the grounds where they have the fair in Vancouver, in big building.
Yes, it was the big building. It was the big building in Vancouver.
And I don't know who put the cage up, but it was high, like 30 feet high of this, a cyclone kind of fence cage. And so the sheep herders are in the ring, And, the adrenaline's pumping, and we're going, and Martell and I come out of the dressing room, and I don't know, I just saw that cage, and boom, I just took off, and I jumped in the middle of the cage on the outside of the ring, like Batman and Spider-Man. And I crawled.
Spider-Man,
okay. And I crawled up the cage from the outside, and I'm still crawling up the cage, and I'm like, ooh, the 20-foot mark, 25, the 30, and I'm looking down, and it's starting to shake. And I get one now, I got my kilt on. And I'm going, now I'm afraid of heights, okay? Need to know information. And I'm looking down, and there's the two sheep herders, side by each, up staring at me, and all these people are like, they're screaming, thinking I'm doing this great thing, and I get 1 foot over, and the cage starts swaying, and it's swaying like I'm going to fall into the ring, then it's swaying like I'm going to go into the people, and I try to get my other foot over, and boom, I lose my balance, and I fell from the top of that 30-foot cage all the way down to the ring, between the ring ropes and the cage, with my feet up on the cage and my kilt down. I look like Heidi Fleiss, and my kilt over my face.
You were selling your Niagara Falls.
My Niagara Falls I was selling. I remember you two just looking at each other.
We covered our faces up and burst out laughing.
Yes.
And you were mad. You went red. You were so mad.
And Martell, who had started my lead by coming on the outside, finally actually saw what happened, and he crawled down to the floor, come in the door, and, crushing moments. I got to take a break. We'll be right back with the best of them all, Luke the Bushwhacker. Thanks.
Whoa!
Yeah! You're Piper's Pick with the great Luke the Bushwhackers, sheep herders.
Whoa!
Yeah, just talking about. He says, so when I hit the floor, me falling out of trying to be a tough guy and falling off the top of the cage into the into the ring, and I guess I was a little embarrassed. I don't know. I just saw the sheep herders look at each other in disgust. Like, are you shitting? Are you shitting me? And then they started laughing. Wow! I wish they would have just, just beat me up. Anything but that. Sir, I got a question for Doyle from Doyle Chandler. Says, out of all the people you licked, who tastes the worst? Who started licking?
Butch did.
Butch did. I think I was the first one he licked.
Yeah, and then, he licked some of the people he licked. Oh boy, sweating, filthy people. I always put my hand on their head and licked the back of my hand.
Yeah.
And Butch would slobber out. He was like a puppy dog.
I loved him. But he licked
good.
Yeah.
And we can laugh about it now. Let's go back to the times too for Flaky Face when we did the hair. When we started the hair angles with Buddy Rose.
Holy cow!
You did my hair on a Saturday. You come back on a Tuesday. You did Butcher's.
Yes.
Then we built up for the finale with Buddy. And remember, we did the barbecue out the back, and we sold photos of him. We had a wig on his head.
We got his head shaved, and he bought a wig with hair. No, a mask.
Yeah.
A mask. Wasn't it a mask?
With hair. Yeah, a mask with hair. And remember the hair got pulled out, and he looked like he had the mange in the end. Remember he was coming to the ring, and it looked like he had the mange?
He looked like Casey. He looked. Oh, baby Jesus, man!
I remember that cake, the hair match at the end. There was this car against the hair.
That's right.
Then we put the car up against the hair.
The Yellow Canary.
We went into the big Coliseum.
Yeah.
And that in Portland at the time, that was the biggest house that Don had ever done.
That's right. And I won his car.
Yes.
I drove that yellow Canary. I finally, I drove, Abdullah the Butcher, Andre the Giant, Sergeant Slaughter, many people. You were there in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I finally gave it away to Ron Ritchie.
Did you?
Yeah,
I remember in the early stages, though, mate, one night coming home, you were 300 yards from home. And you decided not to stay on the road. You went into the ditch and into the tree, 300 miles, 30 yards, maybe 300 yards from home.
We were deep in the ditch, too. Deep.
Yeah.
I tell you, I had the same thing happen to me. My wife decided that, backlot brawl.
Have a credit card number.
Backlot brawl, it was called, with Gold Dust, and they had the O.J. Simpson chase, because there's nothing sacred. And so I said, I want that white Bronco, Vince. And Vince McMahon gave me the white Bronco. I loved it. I drove it for a couple of years, and one time my wife finally got the hair in her nose or whatever and got mad, and I come up and there's a brand new Denali. I don't know, $55,000. It's over 6,000 pounds. I hated it. So one night I'm driving, and I'm going, I got in one of my moods, and I'm going through the place called the Slough, and it's a swamp on both sides, and I just took a hard right with that Denali. It went off about 10 feet in the air. Boom! Hit a bunch of trees. Boom! Bottomed out. But I was okay. And it was low. It was low, and I got out and I'm swimming, and all of a sudden, police are out there. And are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much. No, I'll be fine. Damn thing had OnStar on it. OnStar. Are you serious? You turned me in? Baby Jesus.
What about the time when the Mount St. Helen blew, and you and Roddy Piper were coming to Eugene? You and Ricky were coming to Eugene, and you arrived. You arrived late. We had to prolong the show and you left in a Camaro, or was it a Pontiac Grand Prix? And you arrived there in a convertible. No.
That's true. No exaggeration. Rick Martel was a booker in Hawaii, and just like Luke was saying, we all came from Hawaii into Portland, and Rick Martel had this beautiful, brand new black Firebird with the gold big emblem of the eagle on the hood, and and the T roof, and so we're driving to Tacoma. I think it might have been a Sunday. And Tacoma. There you go. And it was a beautiful day. It was. Tell your mother, son. And we're driving along, and all of a sudden we kind of come over a hump, and baby Jesus, you can't see anything, and there's an 18-wheeler dead on stop. There's a truck piled into the 18-wheeler. There's a car that just hit the truck piled into the 18-wheeler, and there's us. Boom! And what happened, Mount St. Helens had just erupted. And now I'm in the car, and I can't get out the door. So I go and I'm kicking the door with my foot, and it's Rick Martel's new car, right? Rick Martel goes, Monsieur. So it's very calmly, and he points, like the sunroof's open. Do you have to kick my car too? Oh, Monsieur. I am very sorry. So we get out. Yeah. We get out, and we're both doing the same thing, Rick and I. Rick's saving lives, and I am too, my own.
Hey, mate, how many close calls did you have in your life over the years? I still remember another night in South Carolina. We got pulled over, you, me, and Butch, by the cops at 3 o'clock in the morning. They pulled us. They took us to a courthouse. The judge came out in his bathrobe and slippers. Remember, he fined us. He fined you for driving, or Butch, and then we pissed on the side of the court. There was a big glass window there, and we looked. He was still doing the bookwork, and we stood there, looked at him, and pissed on the side of the courthouse.
I don't know how many car accidents I've been in. Over 30.
Yeah, my God. You're lucky to be alive, mate.
Yeah.
We all are crazy crazy things we did earlier on in our days.
Yeah, it was wilder back then. It was a little more Wild West.
The pilot pills.
Woof, woof.
They were deadly.
They were deadly. Yeah, you had to be real careful back then what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I remember. You remember in Salem. So we used to have, for all you folks out there, you know, here's what you had to go through to get all that stuff you see on Raw and TNA and ROH or whatever. You don't start there.
No.
Do you?
Salem was another
and that was
stories we got to tell with Elton.
Yes, Elton Owens.
And a good friend of yours, Adrian Adonis.
Oh, he was.
God bless him.
God bless him. Loved him so much, man. Yeah.
What about down the say it was an old theater, and we wrestled upstairs, and we were down underneath the ring,
and there was
in the basement,
rats and just dirt, and just it was nasty, and there was 2 massage tables down there. I remember this one night. I don't know. This is pretty priceless. No exaggeration. You were there. Elton Owens, he always smoked these cigars, you know. Yeah. He's always drunk, and he's got like a toupee that looks like poodle roadkill on his head. And he comes in the dressing room. We're all there, you know, and we're getting, I don't know what we got for him, $15, $25 maybe. You know?
Yeah, 25 was tops in Salem at the start.
Yeah. And so we're down there basically like the gladiators that nobody really wants. And Elton Owens comes in with a cigar and he goes, there's nobody, you guys couldn't draw flies to shit. And he puts his cigar down on the massage table. And I can't remember if it was Rose or Martel, but he picked somebody back towards the back as you came in there, and he went to them and started like, you let me tell you something. I'm the promoter here, and he's going on his rant, and Killer Brooks is sitting right next to me, and I can see Killer. I'm looking in his eyes, and Killer, he's getting that wily Waxahachie look in his eyes, and he stands up. He pulls down his trunks. He's ready to go to the ring. He takes that cigar of Elton Owens. He puts that cigar in his bum, and he twists that cigar around, up and down, and up. And I mean to the point where you're going to get busted. And he puts that cigar back on that massage table, pulls his trunks back up, sits down, places like a church. Could have heard a pin drop other than Elton. Now we're all watching, right? And I'm just tears are coming down my eyes, and I'm just not a sound. And finally, Elton grabs a cigar, and he's looking at us, and he goes, all right, you guys get up there, and I want you to work. And we're waiting, right? And he's not putting it in his mouth, and boom, and some other obscenities he spews out. And he puts the cigar in his mouth and turns, opens the door, and I shit you not. He turns around and he says, and another thing, he says, it smells like shit in here. And he left. Worth the price of admission. Holy cow.
Hey, what about that door down there? He used to knock on that door. And we used to lock him out of the dressing room, and he used to be screaming, don't you know my fucking knock? So, we used to lock him out of his own dressing room.
We got
Mate, what about the shooter trophy?
The shooter trophy.
Shooter. And we pull it to pieces. He goes to pick it up, and it falls to pieces. Oh, my God.
Undone all the screws. We got to call David from Indianapolis. David, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am. Good afternoon, Mr. Piper, and hello, Bushwhacker.
How you doing, mate? You're looking bloody good. You smell like sardines, mate.
No, actually, that's my daughter who's standing next to me.
I thought that was the cologne you had on, mate.
Oh, it's the cologne. Okay. First of all, Mr. Piper, it's an honor to speak to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Bushwhacker, my question for you is, if you could wrestle today, like you did in your prime, out of all the wrestlers that are out there, who would you want to wrestle and why? And
Today, I see it.
Before I let you answer, Mr. Piper, I want to say it's going to be an honor to meet you next month when you're here in Indianapolis. But that's all I have to say there.
God bless you. I look forward to it. Good question.
I look forward to hearing the entire podcast when it comes out.
Thanks very much for calling, bud. We'll see you in Indianapolis, David. So who would it be? Who would it be, Luke?
Well, you know, if I was a bad guy, if I was the heel, I'd like that blonde guy with curly hair. What's his name?
Blonde guy with curly hair.
Curly hair, and he's overlooked. They bring him up. And
Ziggler.
Then they keep Ziggler. I still think he's one piece of good talent. And I know as a heel, I would get a good match of him. Now as a baby face, I'm an Orton fan.
Yeah.
I love the dad. The dad was an incredible guy, and he can still work because I work on cards around the country today.
Yeah.
At my age, and the dad's on the few of the cards I'm on, and he still gets in that ring and works like he did in the 80s.
He's a great man. Great man. I worked with his father, the grandfather, when I was 16 in Kansas City. But so if you'd have either work against Randy Orton or if it was a tag team, Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, no, it was a baby face. Yeah,
as a baby face.
Funny fellas, you're talking about that, mate. The Rock came when I was finishing in 96, 97 WWE.
Yeah.
Now I wrestled his dad Rocky Johnson in Australia, in New Zealand, and in the States. And in New Zealand and Australia, Ricky Martel was his tag partner. And then going back on that, I wrestled the Rock's grandfather, Peter Maivia, in New Zealand and Australia.
Yes.
So, the grandfather was one great piece of talent.
Oh, he was fantastic. When I was in Hawaii, you were there if you remember. I went as the Great Howley. One of the things that they used to do in Hawaii, those Samoans, doggone, I'd be fighting for my life, literally, with Peter Maivia, Chief Peter Maivia. Great man.
Yeah.
And what they do in Hawaii, they would break the antennas off of cars, and then when you come down the aisle, like they telescope, they bring them out and whip you with them and back in. Really? How much money am I getting for this? Back to Alton Owens, dollars worth of quarters.
Yeah. Nice. The lining up and get paid, you'd take money over, put 10 over on your side, take it back, and give you 5. Then look at you and say, "Oh, you got a good attitude, son. Here, take that other 5 for beer money."
Yeah.
But don't tell the boys. I got a great story. Eldon Owen, Salem, and it's with you guys.
Go.
This night we handcuffed you or Ricky to the corner post, and we beat up Ricky. Someone runs to the fucking door and tells Eldon the sheep herders are beating him up. He comes back to the ring. He finds us, and by now Butch is pissed off. And they're coming to the ring and taking the heat off the end of the night because they're trying to get they're trying to set up for the following week.
Yeah.
These days we ran these towns every week. So Butch goes and grabs the belts, and he tells me to grab him from behind. So I grab Eldon from behind. Butch comes and whacks him over the head with the belt. He goes down, there's 2 place screws on his head, and his glasses go to the floor. And that. Afterwards, everybody's too scared to go in to get their payoff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's going to go first?
Yeah.
In the end, Butch went in there and he said, "Eldon, what a hell of a job you did." He says, "The next time, Luke will tell you to duck, and I'll hit Luke, I'll hit Luke with it, and you get out of the way and find us then." And he said to Butch, "One hell of an idea." And he says, and he give him extra money for a good attitude. Fucking hell. Sorry, folks. This guy, you can't talk about, your Niagara Falls are your testicles. Your Niagara Falls are your testicles. He's the only guy I've known to shoot himself in the Niagara Falls.
Yeah, that's right.
He came out drunk one night with a pistol in his pocket, and he's carrying the money. And every night he sat there at the door of the arena, waiting for the fans to come out and pat him on the shoulder. And this night he's drunk. You know the story, Roddy.
It's great. Yes, he's coming out and he's got the money, and and he's drunk and he thinks he has to protect things, and he's got his gun and he's trying to fumble just in case, and he pulls the plastic trigger and he shoots himself in the testicles.
But people won't believe we're talking about one promoter. There's so many stories.
Oh, and
about
then
it.
They brought him to the hospital, and the doctor asked him, "Did you try to commit suicide by shooting myself in the balls?"
Hey.
Holy cow! That was
His first wife's name was Hallie. I don't know how far I can go on the show.
Go for it.
But he used to say, he come in and he says, Hallie's got one big set of pistols, breath. But I don't understand the color of her hair downstairs, down under, is different from the color on her head.
Just brutal.
Here's the promoter telling the boys in the dressing room.
Brutal. I'm talking about his wife. It's like, are you...
Now, the second wife, this is another story. Ricky and Roddy are in the ring with me and Butch, and we got some heat up, real heat.
Yes.
Fans are throwing drink into the ring. This is the second wife. The fans are throwing drink into the ring. His second wife is drunk. She comes into the ring while the match is on with a mop and a pail while we're wrestling. And she's mopping up. We take the match and put a hold on in the corner while she's in the ring, mopping the ring in the middle of the match. Can you believe this?
No, folks.
People don't believe this.
No.
They don't believe this.
Folks, this is just about 9 months of the Bushwhackers, Roddy Piper, Rick Martel, Killer Brooks, Buddy Rose. We're just talking about 9 months of our life every night. Something.
Yeah.
Every night.
And they would bring in, Roddy and Ricky would bring in the Andre to be their partner, and we'd get Buddy Rose to be our partner. We had an army. And then they would get Jesse Ventura to be their partner.
Yes.
And they'd always bring another name in to make a six-man. And we carried on this for nearly a year. And these things that I'm talking about with Eldon happen nearly every time we're in his southern towns.
Yes.
Adrian Adonis on his hands and knees while Elton's giving us a lecture. We're in a new school. He says, I don't want anything damaged here. I've just got the building. It was a high school gym. And Adrian's on his hands and knees barking, biting him on the ankles. And he's trying to kick him off, not looking down while he's talking to all of us.
I remember that. Holy cow. I remember that. He was Adrian Adonis' down.
People wouldn't believe these things, mate.
No. He's got him down. Elton is trying to be serious. This is hard to get out. I'm sorry, but I mean, he's like a pit bull, and he's gotten Adrian's got his teeth of the promoter Elton and of his pants, and Elton's trying to be mad, and he literally thinks it's a dog. He's like, get off me, get off me.
And he's trying to kick him off.
He's trying to kick him off.
And Adonis is holding onto the cuff of his trousers.
I don't know if it's just us, Luke, that enjoy these. I hope you folks are having as much fun as I am.
Right. And we haven't even got out of Oregon yet.
We haven't got out of Oregon. Man, some of the best times of my life.
We had no money, but
no money, but boy, we had a blast.
We had full houses. Those days, for the average person, it was money, but there were full houses. Most of it, It was full except for Eltonstown.
Except for
all the other towns were full except for Eltonstown.
Listen,
he didn't even know. He lived 100 yards away from his brother, and he didn't even know who the champions were.
Not a clue. I gotta take it. A break, and Luke, will you stay on just a couple more stories? Can you got time?
Yeah, mate.
I love you, love
Certainly, mate.
Live on Piper's Pit, the one and only Luke of the Bushwhackers. We're just talking about Buddy Rose, and it's hard to try to keep plug the kids' ears. Talking with Buddy Rose last week, and in the back of Buddy's van, I was questioned why were all the towels and unsoiled. And to be quite blunt with you, Buddy Rose only liked to be jacked off, and he liked to do that in his van. And he always wanted a clean towel, so he would, whoever came in or whatever, and got the towel, and then that towel was gone, and he would steal more from the Bomber Hotel. And, you could always count on a clean towel from Buddy if it wasn't on the floor.
Yeah. And when I was living beside him, Ronnie, I could hear through the walls, 2 in the morning. You get a little blood in the old man, and you yell, Tammy, get the oil! Tammy, get the oil!
Get a little blood. Get a little blood in the old man.
Upstairs. Hey, God bless you, buddy, upstairs, but you entertained us.
Yes, he
did.
And
I remember the first time he had the cookie. He had a bite of the cookie. He couldn't. That was the start of the end.
That was the beginning of the end when Buddy got the cookies. He also had. I've been asked the questions from the first episode. What was the muffler system? Well, Buddy Rose, he never wanted a girl or a guy or whatever to hear him have gas. So he took a system where he took toilet paper and kind of rolled it real tight up, and then cut it, and then he put that up his bum, that way when he had gas, it would just go, and there was no,
yeah.
And he called it the muffler system. And he was proud of it too. Holy cow. But at the same time, Buddy Rose, he had the devil to him. He comes to me one time, and he says, he's with his girl. Geez, man, maybe I better not. He
buddy.
Was, buddy. Boy, took all the air right out of that, didn't I?
Yeah.
My producer's going, are you shitting me, Rod?
Yeah, God bless him.
Yeah, man, oh man, oh man.
And then we all moved, and then we went about a month before you to Crockett, and then you came into Crockett, and here we are now in Crockett's territory. And here's a different territory altogether.
Oh, man. And
Jimmy Crockett would walk right next to you or past you, and he would look right through you without even talking. Completely different.
Completely. Yeah. Had no idea I was there.
Roddy.
Yes.
You can't come to we're going to push you. You've got to get a suit jacket. You can't wear jeans and a leather jacket. So you went and bought polyester. A polyester jacket, and polyester trousers, because they don't crease.
You know what?
Remember that?
Oh, so then part 2 of that is that this ended up in the movie They Live. Part 2 of that is so Flair takes me to Richmond to a place called Franco's, and I dumped $6,000 into the Ric Flair look, the clothes, the camel hair jacket, etc. So now it's time. We're in the studio, Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, and this is the line that made it to the movie. I got my new clothes on, and and I'm really pissed off because I couldn't afford $6,000, and this wrestling fan chewing and goes, looks at me and says, "Damn, like perfume on a pig." And that's how that line got into They Live, like putting perfume on a pig. Oh, yeah. Man, oh, man. Had Abdallah the Butcher in there at that time.
Yeah.
I remember, and nobody knows who's at fault, but we used to go in there on a Tuesday in Charlotte, and you'd have to kick off 90 whatever your time, your amount of interviews were, 2-minute and 54-second interviews. We'd be there all day, and then go to Raleigh at nighttime.
Yes.
Guys don't do interviews like that.
And shoot, and Raleigh at nighttime to shoot the television.
Yes, in Raleigh.
That Raleigh and the road between Charlotte and Raleigh, the cops would be waiting for the boys
every night, every week rather.
Every week.
Every week. That's where my final stabbing was in Raleigh. It's from the heart. And the booker is Ole Anderson. You remember we used to call him Pig Face? I did anyway.
Yeah.
Because of that big wart he had over his eye. But he was.
The first time. No, originally it was the guy that went for Vince, and he just died last year. He was Vince Jr.'s first booker for WrestleMania.
George Scott.
So when we first went there, remember?
Holy
Scott was the booker.
I got in so much trouble. It went all the way to court with George Scott.
There was the two Scotts. His brother was one of the agents.
Yes, Sandy and George. We're outside, so in Charlotte. It's I don't know, about 1:00 in the morning, and it was the first new Cadillac demolition derby ever. And holy shit! I'll just make it short because I can't lie in front of Luke. You see, he knows all the answer. So George's son, I can't remember his name, Byron or something like that. Yeah. I don't know how he gets in there. Steamboat, we're all at this Odyssey 2001 or something, and we're kind of getting in the parking lot, and George's son's being rude to me, and he's in his dad's Cadillac, and he opens the window just a crack, and he said, "My dad made you everything you are." So with my left hand, I hooked it, and I hit the windshield, and boom, and the windshield busted, but so did my left hand. And he kind of scooted up like 5-6 feet, and I was so pissed off. I just had a brand new Cadillac myself, and I jump in my Cadillac, and remember there's Briscoes over there, Jerry Briscoe going, "Hot Rod, no," and Jack Briscoe was riding with me, but Jack Briscoe had broken his ankle or something. He had a cast on his leg, so I'm going, "Get in, because I'm going to go. I'm after this guy," and I still remember Jack trying to get in. The door's wide open. My door's closed. It's in drive. I'm calling, "Come on, Jack," but I need to catch this jerk. So I hit the gas as Jack's getting in, but my wheels were turned all the way to the left. And as I hit the gas, Jack starts sliding out, and I went to grab him. We both slid out of the car, tumbled on the concrete. And that Cadillac of mine, like an android, what do you call those things in the sky now they got? Drones, thank you.
Drones, yeah.
Like a drone. My Cadillac seeked out George Scott's Cadillac, and whoa, about 30 miles an hour, just totaled it. Here comes Ricky Steamboat's in it. And finally, I was hot, everybody's hot, and then next morning, I was sore, and I wasn't going to do nothing. I actually was going to go to court over it, and the Briscoes were going to back me up. And what happened was we got in, and there was a lawyer, George Scott was there, and George Scott, he told the truth. He said, "I'm the one who brought Roddy in here." And that was the truth. And as soon as he said that, I said, "Sir, you're right. I apologize for even being here and bothering you." Shook his hand, and I dropped it. But then I figured we're equal. That was it. But that kind of stuff went on. And then the trips up to Toronto. Oof.
Yeah, and the Gulf Stream, or the other thing with the ends. What was the other thing? It held about 20 people. They had two plays.
There's a casket
wanted
with
to get
wings.
The Gulf Stream.
Yeah.
And the other thing was it was a casket with wings. Would fly up to Guelph. To do television. And I remember one night, we used to, after television, they used to put some food on. And I remember Angela Moscow telling George Scott, he said, "You little word," not George, Sandy, he told Crockett, Jimmy Crockett. He just told him out straight. He says, what a worm he was. He didn't care. Angie was a good guy.
Yeah, he told him straight. Yeah, that was when Tunnies used to have the ham sandwiches.
Yes.
And the beer.
Yeah, the beer afterwards.
Yeah, up in the hotel. I loved Angelo Mosca. He was a good guy. Do you remember? I got one from Richard Jones Comedy at Richard Jones Comedy at Twitter. He's asking, what was it like to be part of Roddy's Rowdies against Rick's Brood? Do you remember Survivor Series '89?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that now. We had Jimmy Snooker with us.
Yes.
You, me, and Jimmy, and we had the drumsticks. Remember you started singing something about the drum. I'm just trying to think that when we all started singing. You led it, and we all started. Jimmy was eating a big drumstick or something or other.
That's right.
Remember the carcass of food we had?
Yes. I forgot about that. Again, Rick Rude, he was another good guy, man.
God bless him.
Yeah.
Hey, the good guys have gone down the tube. It's sad.
Yeah, I miss Rick. I miss Mr. Perfect.
Yeah. There's another guy.
Oh, holy cow! He never stopped. You know, he was always jerking with someone.
And here's a younger generation one too, a lot of people didn't know, but Owen Hart.
Owen Hart. He was such a good. Yeah, he was such a good guy.
His humor was different.
Yeah, his humor was different, but it was great. It was great, man.
Great.
Yeah. So is it true? I've been asked this. When you came into the WWA, was it WWF? Were you asked? You know, why they changed you from the sheep herders to the bushwhackers? I have no clue.
You know why?
No.
I do. Because Vince owned us. Vince owned us, of course, merchandise-wise and all that. You know.
Of course.
If you kept your own name, or if you had lawyers to make you keep your own name, you would you'd get 5% of the merchandise. When he owned the name, you got less.
Yes.
You know, 5% of the thing. And he changed. Well, the Bushwhackers, it was a good. I'm going to tell you, when we first went in, you know, I was in the gym in Cincinnati, and we were starting an angle with Barry Windham and Lex Luger, and we got a phone call Saturday morning. I went out and I called into my home in Charlotte from Cincinnati, and I heard this guy. My name's Pat. Will you call this number, please?
Yeah.
And Pat didn't even ring a bell. So I called the number, and he said, "Yeah, Pat Patterson here. I got a guy who wants to talk to you." And a voice said in the background, it was on speakerphone. He says, Kiwi. And it was Vince, it was Caesar, Vince Jr. And then blah, blah, blah.
It comes from Strongbow.
Caesar's from, Caesar. Yeah. And he says, there's a lot of stories I got on that guy. And God bless, he's dead too, but, you know, he didn't rub me the right way.
Nah, Chief J. Strongbow we're talking about.
He hated gimmicks, and what do you think he was? He's an Italian Indian.
You know that gimmick. He went on the White House and put up a tent, like an Indian tent, and sat on the. I gotta tell you, you know the thing with Schnucka and the coconut.
I've got to. You know, I'm sitting in my gym at the moment, and I've got 24/7 WWF here on some of the TVs. I have a gym on Clearwater Beach.
What's your name?
I've got that running, Clearwater Beach Fitness.
Beautiful. Is that where you're at right now?
I'm sitting in the office looking out at into the gym. It's two-way mirror. Anyhow, last night I was here before I left, and there you were. You and Piper Pitt with the coconuts. You started with the bananas.
That's right.
And you ended up with the coconut. Well, and all the people stopped working out and were watching it.
Is that right? Yeah. You know, people don't understand. Like, people say, like, where'd you get the coconut from? I don't know. Safeway. Hanks. I said, go get me some stuff from Fiji. Jimmy, Jimmy, the brother, I love the brother, but, he only says 3 words. You know, brother.
Brother.
How was the funeral? You know, brother.
No, brother.
How was the wedding?
Remember,
But it was the chief. Go.
I remember when Brian Knobs, this is later on in life, Brian Knobs said to Jimmy, you were OJ before OJ. Now, and Jimmy was wearing dark sunglasses. Usual, those glasses come up, brother. You can imagine what he just looked at that nasty look, and he said, brother, the Knobs was out of it. And that's heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, Jimmy, I had to look at those eyes every night after I busted that coconut. I had fights with him, yeah, that was a really rough time. I had a lot of, in the hotel room lobby, I'm making up room, floor 7, whatever it was. And Jimmy just come charging at me. And we just happened to be on the same floor. And, it was like, it really was a tough time. Meaning, like, there's a lot of money being made, but it was really crazy. Wasn't it back then?
Yeah.
It was like Brian Knobs, for instance. They were just talking about him. Wow. How do you describe Brian Knobs?
Oh, mate. He's 400 pounds now.
No.
His ankles. He's in bad shape, mate. I love the guy, but he hasn't looked after himself.
Gotcha.
He's still, he's full of water.
He's wondering why he got fired from the WWF or and we're at some club in downtown Manhattan, and the one thing he gets
the China Club.
China Club. That's it. And he gets going, and he pulls his pants down in front of Vince, and he spreads his cheeks and says, "Hey, come on in the Batcave." Like, no, Brian, no. Should I show him? No, don't show him. No, don't pull your pants down at all. He can't, hey, the Batcave. I don't want to see the Batcave, Brian. It's,
I'm in the China Club with him, and at Sags one night, next door is Jimmy Rook and one of the top bands of the era of the 80s, and he played the band, the drummer. The band's named after the drummer.
Gotcha.
I forget. It's a rock band. It was very hot at the time, still well known. And Knobs looks over the booth at the China Club. You have to sort of stand up a bit to look over at the next booth. He says, "You think you're a fucking boxer? Well, put him up. Put him up." This is his shit to Jimmy Rook. Next minute, they're rolling around the dance floor. Fucking Knobs is too much.
Yeah, he's, a lot of volume. A lot of volume.
What about you? And more than one way.
In more than one way. Yeah.
And vocally and body side.
Did Vince or Caesar? Did he actually ask you to tone it down a little bit from because we did Portland and then we're doing Charlotte like we're talking about, but as far as you guys as a tag team. You were a great tag team with Butch. I don't know. Was Butch your very first tag team partner?
Yeah, we started tagging. I started wrestling in '62. In '66, Butch started in '66, and we were singles and tags, and then we started being full-time tag team in '68.
Gotcha.
We were tag team together for 34 years.
34 years.
We started going to Singapore, Japan, and Bangkok in the good old days in the late '60s.
Jeez, man, I love Butch.
We came over to the Vashon. We came over for the Vashons in '71, '72.
So
they said that's when Grand Prix was running 3 towns a night.
Gotcha. That's how you got into
And you gave us a big break in the States. We were working one of the main events there because they work in 3 towns. Our second territory was Stu Hart, and I even worked against Stu in 6-mans. I worked against Stu in quite a few 6-mans. Then getting back to Vince, I got to tell the people before we go. So we fly up to New York for Vince when I got the call from Pat Patterson.
Yeah.
And we were in Vince's office, and Vince said, how about you guys being babies? and of course, I says, I'm old school.
Sure.
And I've been Booker. I've been Booker in territories from 83 onwards. I started booking for Joe Blanchard, and then for Carlos Colon. And I went into different territory books. So he said, hey, I'm still old school. Bring us in his heels and turn us. And he said, I don't do things that way. I only get you to do vignette. And Butch jumped up on that and put his big nose about a foot away from Vince's. He says, if you can make these faces baby faces, go for it. And Vince says, well, have a look at the noggins. He says, have a look at the noggins on my top baby face. Hulk Hogan, Sandy Savage, Jake the Snake. And look, now, when you look at their heads, back then, they were pretty heads.
Yes, yeah.
He was right. He was right, he says. And he said, I want you to come back as sheep herders and moondogs, a bit of both. And Butch said to me, the sheep herders were on TBS for 10 years or 8 years, and the moondogs were on USA Network. He says, let's create something different. So hence we came up, he said, we always swung our arms with our heels. We didn't march. And he said, let's swing up, let's march to the ring. And I says, oh, my shoulders are sad. My shoulders are fucking aching.
Yeah.
He says, do you want to make money?
There you go.
We started marching to the ring, which is still remembered today. I still get stopped today. And people say you're the 2 guys that marched to the ring and licked heads.
We got to take one more break, and we got only a few minutes left with one of my most favorite people in the whole world. Stick with us. We'll be right back with Luke of the Bushwhackers. Don't
Brother
get no
from
better.
another mother.
I still, to this day, somebody will ask me, I'm with Luke of the Bushwhackers, and somebody asks me, how you doing? I'm a box of fluffy ducks. Stolen right from you.
Yeah, right. That's on a good day.
On a good day. You know, with the one thing that, like you guys, I don't think you got enough credit for. As far as like a real tag team and working together, I can't think of anybody that had it better down than you and Butch. You'd been together so long, and you knew you just knew so many ways to go about doing any one thing.
Hey, I watch tag teams today, and they don't know what heat is. If I tell them that we came out and our car tires were slashed, our front windshield or back windshield was knocked out, they look at you and think you're talking crazy. And
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, like in Puerto Rico, in the South, where we did a lot of feuds with people, and I took the tag teams with us right across the country, and
Yes.
we made money, and then,
Because you were real. Like I got one guy. Go.
This is before Vince. Well before Vince.
Well before Vince. I got one guy, crazy Depend guy here from Twitter. And here's a good, what do you think, Luke, of the direction that tag team wrestling is going today? And I just say, like, because, for instance, when earlier last week we were talking about, when we said we filled the building, I don't know, the building was probably 10,000, 12,000. And this is back in 77, 78, something like approximately.
Yeah.
Where this is an independent territory in Portland where that's just unheard of. And it was that was a tag team match in a cage. So that's the kind of drawing power that the Bushwhackers had. And now, I take a look at him and I go, Luke, what do you think of the tag teams of today? And do you like them? And if you had any advice for them, what would you tell them?
Well, mate, the tag team business is a dead situation. Vince Senior was a tag team man. He always had, the Valentine, the Valiants. He had quite a few tag teams in the day. Even a Kiwi, Tony Garea. and Steamboat, the other Steamboat from Hawaii.
Jay
You know what
Youngblood.
I mean?
Oh, the real, the original.
Yes. Now talking about Jay Youngblood and Steamboat from Carolinas. What a tag team they were.
Oh, they were fantastic.
Yeah, but there's no one now. The only one I can say, and this is a third or fourth generation tag team, the Usos. Their dad, and then their father, grandfathers. It's either the Wild Samoans. Now there was two guys that had heat too.
Yeah, they were great too.
They had heat.
They were great
They were heat in the 70s and that. The tag teams today, they don't even understand how to work a tag match.
No.
It's a simple psychology to it, and how you can get the people off the seats with false dummy tags, and with drawing the babyface out the corner, and letting the other babyface get to the corner, nobody's home, and then he comes around to come back, and you drag him out. You get the people standing, the fans standing, off simple shit.
Yeah.
People don't do it today.
Detail.
You know, and I explain it to people today, and they don't understand it. The kids today want to do their high moves. Heat, moves is not heat. To get heat is cheating.
Yes, absolutely.
And you were a great one. You were a great one of that, Rowdy Roddy Piper. Your mouth said you're cheating.
I didn't know that you were in the ECW. Did you?
Yeah.
How long were you in the ECW?
No, 1 weekend, and then he gave us a starting date. He said, I want to start you about 3 months down the road. And he called us back a week later, and I says, I'm with all these independent bookings. I said, and they've been looking after me for 3 years. And I said, and he said, oh, well, if you don't come now, bye. And
Gotcha.
them guys, single and the independent promoters have got you on their billboards. They put all their money into you for shows.
Yeah.
This was after when I left Vince in '98, and that was Paul Heyman and that. But we were the Dudleys from down under. Cousin Luke and Cousin Butch.
I gotcha. All right, so you never did get to ECW.
We worked there for 1 weekend.
1 weekend, yeah. Tell me, and fill in the fans. How's Butch doing? And when did you speak with him last?
Good. I spoke with him the other day, mate. Before we go into Butch and that, mate.
Yeah.
People knew us. We were hardcore as before hardcore became a name brand.
That's
true. We worked the Rough House, and we did boot camp matches, barbed wire matches, barbed wire cage matches. We thought of every gimmick. Coal miner glove matches.
Yeah.
It was always blood and guts. Now that was mainly in the South, right across the South.
Did you work
Texas
Memphis?
to Florida.
Did you work Memphis?
We were there. We ran for 5 months with the fabulous one, Steve Kern and Stan Lane.
Steve Kern
and
Stan
I still remember. And this was in '80. We were making $2,000 in that territory. We were making $2,000 a week.
That's a lot of money back then.
Yes, it was. We had that place on fire.
Yes, sir. And who?
Anyhow, getting back to Butch.
Okay,
mate.
sorry. Yeah,
I
man.
spoke
Thanks.
to him last week, mate. And I have people come up to me all the time. Butch got real sick, and he had a hip. He got staph infection. I think he licked too many people.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
like you said, though, he did lick him. I know. He licked the dog out of me. And he licked everybody.
Yeah.
Do you suppose, are you serious? Do you think that he contracted something?
Yeah, but no, you know what I think, too? It was the stuff from Canada. DMSO took it through to the bone. He was a heavy user. You could smell him when he copped in that ring with DMSO.
You could smell it. It was horrible. It was horrible.
It's like garlic. It's twice as heavy as garlic.
Oh, yeah. For those who don't know, I don't know. How do you explain DMSO to someone? To my producer, Raymond. Do you know what DMSO is?
It's a horse liniment which goes right through the bone. When you rub it on a spot, it goes right through that muscle, loosens that muscle up.
Yeah.
Overnight, it repairs you overnight.
But
That's how strong it is.
As soon as you put it on, it comes out your breath. It comes out. It's the most horrendous smell. When we were in Charlotte, and they had us work in Charlotte and Atlanta at the same time, between Bobby Orton Jr. and his dad, Bobby Orton Sr., giving me these remedies, they had me drinking a half a bottle of apple cider vinegar with the hair of the dog in it in the morning and drinking DMSO to try to get the impurities out. And it was like, what a rib. And finally, Jack Briscoe come up to me, and Bobby Orton was there, and I think Bobby Orton drinks Heineken because it's got no preservatives. And Jack Briscoe comes over to me, gives me a Budweiser, and he says, "You need the preservatives."
I loved Jack.
Oh.
Jack was...
He was a man's man.
Yeah, he was good. And as I said before, the good guys have all gone.
Yeah, Jack, I was making a transition. I was working in Charlotte with you guys. Then they had me up in Atlanta calling color with Gordon Soley. And, they had a contract. I was one of the first guys to get a contract. For those who don't know, that's when they were first going to try to take over the world. And I was part of it. And I had a large contract with Barnett and working real hard. Friday, we would all go to Richmond. And Saturday morning, we'd be in that TBS studio. Brutal.
We did some miles, mate.
We did some miles.
You did some miles.
Holy cow. And you do that TV, and then you'd be someplace else that night. But talk about exposure, like yourself. You were all over the world before you got to the WWF.
Yeah.
You were known all over the place.
And as the sheep herders and the Kiwis.
Yeah. And I think there was more honor. No, I don't want to say that. It was the guys took it upon themselves in the ring to do what they had to do to preserve the authenticity of what the sheep herders, bushwhackers. There were certain lines that you wouldn't let anybody cross. Butch had no problem punching you right in the mouth if he had a mind to. And both of you. And there's not that kind of honor system anymore. Which makes it difficult because guys don't think for themselves anymore. I don't want to. I'm not trying to knock them. I think that we love them all.
They're all athletes and they've all got good bodies, but the WWF system now, I think it's computerized.
Computerized. I've never heard it put like that.
Well, Johnny used to say to me, "We've got a box of cardboard cutouts." Hey, if anyone doesn't know, the Johnny Laurinaitis Butcher Me started them. Dusty put him with Butcher Me for the first 2 years in the business.
Holy cow! Computer.
Johnny Laurinaitis.
What was the expression you just used? Computerized?
But he said cardboard. He used to say to me, when he came back after his 10-year run in Japan, they're like cardboard cutouts.
Cardboard cutouts. Yeah, it's computerized. Holy cow. The difference between, I got Doug from Twitter wants to know with you, was there any difference working NWA and WWF?
Mate, NWA was wrestling. It would go straight to WWF to become a celebrity. They took you to the next level. They took you off that ladder and up into heaven.
They did.
Publicity-wise, you got known right over the world. Vince had a way. In those days, we did little vignettes. Not like we did vignettes for 2 months. Store little, mini movies, 2 minutes even. And Roddy, you did a lot of stuff. Piper's Pit. That's how we got over. It wasn't what we did in the ring. It was the stuff we did like this. People remember more. They remember that Piper's Pit with Jimmy Snuka to the end of. That will always be remembered. Yeah,
and you guys on the stick, you had it down. You guys together as a tag team on the mic. I mean, holy cow! You can't buy that. That's years and years of dedication, and I love you so much. I had so much fun with you and Butch. I really do. I want to know, like, what do you got going on? So, we've got a lot of people to listen to the podcast. We've been really lucky.
Yeah, well, I'm living down at Clearwater Beach, mate. I'm right above Hogan's Beach Shop, and I own Clearwater Beach Fitness. It's a gym and that, so you can go on to clearwaterbeach.com, and I got Facebook, Twitter, and
what's your
Clearwater Beach Fitness.
What's your Twitter handle, Luke?
I gotta look at the card, mate.
I love it. I'm in no hurry.
Hey, I'm twittered out.
I got you. And it's Clearwater Beach. You're on your gym.
Yeah, my gym. Yeah, it's called Clearwater Beach. It's clearwaterbeach.com, and Twitter is CB24 Fitness.
CB24 Fitness is the Twitter.
Yeah.
Clearwater
Beach. Facebook, and if you go to the Facebook Clearwater Beach Fitness, and then the Twitter thing, the Twitter logo is there. You click on that. But it's mainly on Instagram. I'm Instagram and Facebook mainly.
Instagram and Facebook. That's good stuff. Just in summing it up though, like how is Butch as because he got staph infection and then
he went under, but they whipped it, and then he went to New Zealand, remarried, came right and that, and until this was 2002 when he got real sick, 2001, and he went home in 2002 after 12 weeks in hospital, and in 2010. A week of his life disappeared. He woke up in hospital. The staff come back. This time they took 120 cc's of poison out of him, and they found it was in his hip bone. So they whipped his hip out.
Okay, so we lost him for a week. He just went on a walk.
No, he went down. He went down, He went down and home, delirious, and the poison got him in again, and he sort of came to about 5 days later in hospital.
Whew, tough guy. And they're pulling the poison out.
Yeah, and then, the first time he went from 240 down to 150 pounds in hospital.
He's a fighter.
Butch, his lungs were going down, they put a tube in to feed his lungs. He kept pulling it out, so they had to shoot tranquilizer in him and strap him down and strap him down in the hospital bed, in the IC ward.
He just kept pulling him out, huh?
Yeah. Anyhow, the second time he took his hip out, and he only had one hip for 3 years. He was on a walker, and when I saw him in 2013, he was bent over on 2 crutches or a walker. Now they put a hip on him. Later that year, they put a hip on him, and now he's walking around again, but he's on one walking stick. Arthritis got in his back. Those 3 years, arthritis got in his back a bit, really bad.
Gotcha.
But I hope to get him over here, in another year to do the convention circuit.
I love it. You know how much I love him, and you too.
I'm going to call him, after I get off this and tell him that I was on with you, because he often talks about times with you. We still talk about they were the best times of our lives.
Yes, they were the best times of our life. And just, as I wind this up, I want you people to understand something here, that, I tell them I love them, and I mean it. Because, everybody knows Rod has, what did Hillbilly Jim say? Piper's got more issues than TV Guide. I was over, I'm not sure where we were, maybe in the New Brunswick or something, and Luke was over there, and I was having a really tough time. And, all of a sudden, when I hadn't talked to Luke for a while, the way we go, a guy gets someplace else, and I'll go someplace else, and we won't have communication for 5-6 years, and all of a sudden we'll talk to each other, and it's like we'd never been apart.
Right.
And all of a sudden I started getting texts from Luke right away. Hey, mate, keep your head up. What are you doing? Get down here to Clearwater. He was so concerned. And for no other reason than he's my brother. And
you did me favors too, mate. You got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and did breakfast shows with me on television.
I love you. I love you with all my heart.
Love you too, mate.
And the fact that you come on, it's like, 2 shows of pure country gold. I'm going to try to get over to Clearwater there and spend some time in your gym. And I love you. I don't know how to say it. On the beach. On the beach. And tell Butch I love him. Give everybody a hug. Yeah. And it just doesn't go any better than this.
You're a box of fluffy ducks, mate.
I love you, Luke. That's it. We're a wind-up for Piper's Pit. We'll see you next week with all kinds of surprises. Take care.
Whoa!